Yo, yo, we are back. I'm gonna try and run this one in standard, not the wide angle. So if you end up looking at something you don't want to look at, it's because I'm trying to keep my head on target. Very cool boat, very special boat. It is a ProBoat Geico twin, and if you'll notice, we got a single drive, single offset rudder, and kind of unique. Not something that I've ever seen before. I have seen some single Zelos versions, which is the older yellow version. Never seen a Geico. So, yeah, so very special boat. This is a very special boat to me because, in my opinion, this is the most iconic pro boat that they've really done. This was like the heyday. This is like, you know, when my buddy Rafael Lopez was designing for ProBoat, this was like the last hoorah boat that he designed. This was a really big deal and really cool boat. Unfortunately, this boat is sold. I sold it to a buddy of mine who's waiting to get it, and wanted to show it off to you guys for anyone who has a ProBoat, has a Geico, or likes the boat or has thought about getting one. They are discontinued. You can't get them. And only reason that I'm even entertaining the thought of selling was because I have another one. So this is one of two. This one's gone, and the other one is now going to be the focus. So where to start? So got rid of the thumb screws. Got rid of the thumb screws. They are countersunk. Screws is a little cleaner. It's a little easier to tape. Jeez, this thing zoomed in. A little easier to tape. Out back here, we do have a single strut. It's a single motor conversion, so everything was ripped out. Everything was ripped out. The water exits were ripped out. The antenna tube was relocated to here. This is a custom blade from Sly Cat Racing. It's a Speedmaster blade, but it's like 1.5 inches thick. This boat was essentially the Blackjack 29. There was a Mystic 29. There was a all these 29-inch versions. There's now the Blackjack 42. There was a Blackjack, a Zelos 48 E version. All those boats have a similar bottom to this, but this was the boat that ProBoat never made. So anything bigger than this is plastic. So if you're going to get a 42, it's going to be plastic. And sick paint job. It's a great size boat. It can handle big speeds. It's stable. So essentially, I think... No, this one's not inlaid. The canopy's not. Anyway, okay. So, boat has... I'll get up, show you here. Make sure I'm pointed the right way. Full inlay. These are the old motor mounts. Really not going to be able to get those out. Full inlay, up the sides, up the front. The front is poured with epoxy and chopped carbon fiber in the tip. Biggest weak point, pain point, if you will, on these boats is the seam. I'm sure you've seen the seams. Oh, there we go. Seams split open on these. I'm sure you've seen it. We've all seen it. Mass produced, ready to run boat. What happens is there's essentially a torsional twist or a flex, right? The deck compresses in a crash and you blow out the seam. It just blows right out. So the seam has been reinforced, and one very simple hack that you can do to keep you're keeping the torsional twist and you're keeping the compression at bay by adding a simple carbon fiber. Carbon fiber. This is an old battery tray. It's epoxy to the hull and to the top, and you could imagine when you have that piece, there is no compression on this boat. I mean, you could probably stand on the thing. Not going to do that. No longer my boat. But yeah, a very simple brace across the front adds an amazing amount of rigidity to the hull. And at minimum, that should be done. Ideally, you do the seams, you know, a full seam reinforcement. The inlay, I'll be honest, it's mostly for looks. It does help, you know, it stiffens the boat up. Anyway, Firma 160. This is the ESC from the Blackjack 42. It is an 8S boat. Currently, because it's sold, it's got a smaller Leopard in it. I ran a big, you know, Bratwurst TP 4070. Ran a big ass motor in it. Did 73 miles an hour. It actually does 70 with this one. Just gets a little warmer. Nice collet on it. Basically the hard cooling lines throughout the boat, rather than shooting out the top of the boat, the water dumps into the tunnel. So the holes go directly through. It dumps into the tunnel. Technically, it's disrupting the airflow. I don't think it makes a difference. So that's kind of the quick rundown. Again, this was designed for a much longer motor. The boat does surprisingly well with just this power, but keep in mind it did come with twin 3674 Dynamite / Leopard motors. And so this being a 4074, it's not nearly, it's close. Obviously, it's not as much power as two of them. So it boogies, it does 70, but of course, it is a single. So like every Blackjack or Zelos single, the tendency for this boat is to slide. It's a drifter. You know, it's supposed to be a friendly, ready-to-run boat. So, oh, and she is heavy, by the way. But it's a friendly, ready-to-run boat. And so because of that, Raphael, he built some slip into the hull so that rather than, you know, catching and flipping, it'll slide. And so rather than sliding, I've added super thick boy blade, 1.5 inch. I also tried, I still have a Skeg strut to do the same thing. So you'll notice that we do have quite a bit of holes in the back. This is from all the original hardware, obviously. And I told you the biggest pain point on these is the seam blowing out. Second biggest pain point on a ready-to-run, mass-produced hull, I'm sure you guys know this, it's the bottom. The bottom. Every step will have a low spot in the middle. You can see right here, essentially creating a suction cup to the water. And then typically on a cat, what you'll find is that these middle steps here and here are going to be low. So you take your Geico, you set it on the table, and not only does it rock like an old wooden chair because the left to right, front to back is so off, but then you'll notice that these middle sponsons don't touch. And so what you get is basically you got suction cups here, here, and here. And then with this being low or high, however you want to think of it, it's beneath the surface. This is a huge suction. So when you're trying to get your Geico tuned in, you're essentially fighting a boat that wants to stick and then let loose, right? So it's either too loose. Basically, there's a line between too loose and too wet and slow. And when you don't have a predictable bottom, that line becomes finer and finer. And so just like with a car, where your only contact patch to the road is going to be the tires, right? You want to buy the nice, if it's a performance car, you want to get the nice summer tires because that's your only contact point to the road. A boat, you know, this bottom, these 3 little steps, you know, these are your only contact patch with the water. And so when they pull these things from the mold and they get, warped and twisted, and then, you know, you're blowing the thing off at 80 miles an hour and you can't figure out why, it's hard to tune. And I will say, as a twin in the stock configuration, because you've got 2 drives pointing down, you can point them down, and it basically evens it out. It makes the boat less finicky to have a twin. They're a little bit more forgiving in my opinion because you can kind of power through everything. In a single, it's even more important. You get rid of all the weird handling tendencies, but it's a ton of work. Worth it if it's a boat you really like. Here is the stock. Okay, so check this out. So here's the stock water pickup locations. And they kind of stick up out of the hull, so they're extra drag. And look at where they're at, right? So ideally, only the back portion of the step should be contacting the water, right? I mean, the steps are curved, right? So to put a water pickup here, it's not really in the water. And so they work, but I moved them back here. These are custom aluminum, nice water pickups. They're flush. They dump into the middle here. And here, this is the ESC. This is the motor. So anyway, if this was my boat that I was keeping, I would mask this off. I would paint the whole bottom black, kind of like the Lamborghini boat with the, the lime green, Geico green, whatever, with a black bottom, finish this up. But, it's with a blueprint job, you're always tweaking and making changes. And so, you don't always want to paint it. Sometimes you leave it alone and you want to come back and mess with the angles. You want to, tweak it. So you leave it alone. No one sees the bottom. This keeps it lightweight. And yeah, like I said, the boat's off to a new home. But I wanted to show you guys it because I haven't seen a single 36 Geico anywhere ever. And correct me if I'm wrong. But very fast boat, longer and skinnier hull. So it actually does really well at speed. Very stable, and fun boat. It's a drifter. It will slide in the turns, but it's fun. It's a good all-around boat. Of course, you guys know this, I'm sure. You want your leading edge on your rudder nice and sharp. You ideally want this corner rounded, and then you want these edges rounded because you don't want this acting as a planing surface, lifting the back. So I played with different rudder distances. You notice it's kind of interesting. So this puts the prop really far behind the trailing edge of the sponsons, right, with this overhang. And so what that does is you're essentially gaining straight line stability, but you give up a little turn. So this boat will have a tendency to want to push in the turn, right? So you turn and it kind of wants to push a little bit before it hooks and goes, and that's how you get the drifting. Part of it's because of this and because of, essentially how far it is from the trailing edge. But anyway, all of that nerdy stuff aside, it's a really fun boat. It was an exercise in building that I wanted to do. I ordered the boat brand new from Horizon. It was a full, ready to run, twin motor, twin everything. I sold everything out of it. So I sold everything brand new and just ripped it apart. I never ran it as a twin. But again, I knew they were discontinuing the boat and they had a sale going on. So I bought two. This is one of them. The other one's being built currently. And like I said, if I was keeping this, this strut design used to have a rudder coming off of it. So if I was keeping it, I would just chop this off, make that clean. Chop that off, and it does need trays. Right now, the batteries are designed to go up here. There's Velcro up here. But before, I did have trays. I had trays right here, and then ended up having to move the CG around a little bit. This boat does like a more forward CG, especially with like an ABC prop. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that covers this boat. Like I said, whenever my buddy is ready for it, he will get the boat. He'll have a lot of fun with it and maybe post some videos. I think I only have maybe one video of this thing. And so, yeah, I mean, thanks for letting me ramble. And if you stuck it out, appreciate you. And yeah, this is the farewell to this boat. Thanks.